What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fly Tires Tying Flies. This evening we're going to go ahead and do a tying session on the fish catching machine known as the Kreelex. I'm going to go ahead and tie this on a 811 firehole stick size 4 streamer hook, but only because this is a 3x length and 2x heavy streamer hook. You can use really any long streamer hook that you've got or anything that you'd like to purchase from any other manufacturer. So let's get started with one of these in the vise here. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and use UTC 140 denier thread in white. So I'm going to start by positioning a bump here to pull the bead chain eyes forward into. So I'm going to go ahead and put it right here, create a little bit of a bump, and then I'm going to wrap down this hook shank, not quite to the bend, but right here. We'll go ahead and take off this excess and spiral wrap forward here. All right, so for the eyes, we're going to go ahead and put on just bead chain eyes, size large in silver. So I've got some right here. One tip I'd recommend is if you have something, go ahead and use a dedicated wire cutter of some sort for cutting things like bead chain eyes and, thick wire, if you're cutting thick wire for flies, for weighted flies, rather than ruin your nice fly tying scissors. So that's just a tip. So let's get those bead chain eyes ready here. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these right here behind this bump here. So we'll lay them in sideways, trap them down with a bit of thread, turn them so that they are in the correct plane there, and then lash down with cross wraps. I tend to do cross wraps more on one side than another at first in order to get those eyes lined up correctly. So I like to turn the vise so that I could look straight down from my eyes at the side profile, something like what you could see there, but the side profile to see if either of these eyes are bent one way or the other. It actually looks like they've lined up pretty good. So if that's the case, what I do here is put some sort of glue. Right now I'm using this liquid fusion urethane. I like using this stuff. It's pretty simple. Doesn't take a whole bunch of flashy doodads or gadgets to lay this down, like the lovely UV resins. But anyhow, this stuff is great. Just a little dab of it in between these eyes here. Not a whole lot, just a little dab. And we'll go ahead and secure these a little further with that urethane in there. And do a few helicopter wraps here next. And we're ready to go ahead and tie in our first material. Now, the thing I really love about this fly is, of course, it's simple, but with simplicity really comes very few materials. If you don't count the thread and the bead chain eyes, and I guess the hook, then you're really talking 2 materials here. This is MFC, now called Fish Flash, but this is supposed to be, it's marketed as the Kreelex Fish Flash. Now, there was an original material that Chuck Kraft, who designed this fly, used called Kreelex Flash. I don't know where to find that. I haven't found that. I've just purchased this MFC material. You might find it in various packaging here. Same thing, maybe slightly older packaging, but it comes in tons of different colors. I use this nice bass green color, dark gold, light gold. We've got red, black, whites of all different types. different shades of gold and silver. So check it out. Check out this stuff. It's pretty affordable, and a little goes a long way. So we're going to use these two colors. I'm pretty excited about the peacock, and this holographic silver is just really an unbelievably unique material here as far as synthetics go. So this fly is designed to fish with the hook point up, as you can see here, and those are not really weighted dumbbell eyes. These are bead chain eyes. You can use dumbbell eyes. I've got a whole case right here of all sorts of different types of eyes, weighted eyes. You can use any of this stuff depending on the type of water that you're fishing. But I like to fish really shallow flats, and it is absolutely not necessary to have very heavy lead-weighted dumbbell eyes or any sort of hourglass eyes that are made out of brass or whatever, tungsten. Not necessary where I'm fishing in my situation. Bead chain is just fine. That's just what I'm looking for. So do whatever you need to do to suit what kind of habitat you're fishing or what kind of waters you're fishing. So let's go ahead and get started here. That being said, with the hook point up on this here, we are going to go ahead and tie our darker material on the top and our lighter material on the bottom of this fly. So we're going to invert it back up right here, and we'll get started. So this stuff I'd recommend, highly recommend, just take a good clump and cut the entire thing, the entire length of this clump off of here. If you go and cut halfway down, you end up with little shorty pieces when you're looking for long pieces. Now, I kind of missed that there at first, but sometimes you could find little short ones here, and you really don't want to have to mess with that when you're trying to tie a fly. So I'm going to go ahead and tie in this clump right here. Move my thread back a little bit to about there, and I'm gonna tie this in. What I will do is really quickly, I'm gonna trim that kind of stubby, kind of perpendicular there, a little bit more blunt here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I'm gonna do a loose wrap, one loose wrap to grab that in place there, secure it up towards the bead chain eyes, and I'm gonna hold this material up and back like this, and I'm gonna go ahead and wrap back. Now this is very, very similar to how we secure materials for the Clouser minnow, that tail. So once I've got that trapped in place, go ahead and take some nice tight wraps back forward, right behind these dumbbell eyes, and we can trim this to length here now. So I'm going to go for something like 2 hook shanks in length here. So that actually gets trimmed out about right here. I'm going to move the vise a hair over. There we go. All right. Now, it's possible that we could use this here, but I don't think that's going to be quite long enough. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. And we're going to need to take a little more here. I'm going to cut a full length and set whatever I don't use aside here. Okay, I'm going to wrap my thread around the dumbbell eyes and forward in between the eyes and the point of the hook, or I'm sorry, the eye of the hook and the dumbbell eyes, not the point of the hook here, and a little bit closer to the bead chain eyes. So here we're going to go ahead and lay this material in at an angle, very similar to how we tie a clouser minnow with the bucktail. And I'm going to do a loose wrap first. And I don't want all of that to roll over the shank of the hook. So once I've got that trapped down like so, go ahead and wrap right in front of those bead chain eyes. And I'm going to lift this up here. And we'll go ahead and come under and behind one of these eyes and secure that material down real tight. We'll give it several wraps. I'm holding on to this material here. As you can see, we're going to do some tight wraps here, securing this very well back here. And now we're just going to roll back under and in front of these bead chain eyes again. Now here, while I've got the material where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and trim this. I want this material up here, kind of like a wing, to extend just past the bend of the hook here. So we're going to go ahead and cut right there. So I'll lay that excess material down right here off to the side. And the last bit of material for this fly is going to be the top of the fly. So we're going to go ahead and turn this upside down, roll it over, and we're going to get some of this peacock colored Kreelex flash out of here. And I will go ahead and cut a full length. I don't need near as much of this flash as we used on the belly of the fly. This is much darker, so it may look like I'm grabbing quite a bit, but I assure you I'm not. We'll cut the whole length of that off. And because we've got this nice blunt section here, I'll just go ahead and lay this in straight away. So I'm going to try to get a good grip of this here and lay this on my side of the hook shank, as you can see here, possibly, at an angle. And I'm going to give it a loose wrap and pull it back a little bit towards the actual hook point. And I could lay it down there and give it some nice, tight, very, very tight securing wraps here. And we can go ahead and form a head now. This is the last material that we're tying on. This fly is just amazingly simple to tie. It is basically ready here for the whip finish now. So I'm going to roll that back over. Not trim it quite yet. We're getting there. And let's go ahead and whip finish. So move those materials off there. Get a 3-turn whip finish here. And I like to finish the head of this fly with this exact same liquid fusion here. This stuff's great, urethane. Dries really nice, the look of it on white thread. I'm going to add some to the actual head here in between the dumbbell eyes on top, and then a little bit on the top of the thread head. What I like to do is use the actual nozzle or tip of this as kind of like a brush or applicator for the urethane here. So we're going to put a dab here, and I'm just going to move this back and forth across here in lieu of a brush or something like that. So let that dry for about 24 hours. I know on a previous video I said at least 48 hours. That was definitely me misspeaking, so sorry about that. And we're going to go ahead and invert this once again upside down, and we'll measure out the length here that we're going to trim this top to. So I want it to basically, essentially line up with what we have down here. It could be a little bit longer. Pull that back pretty tight and trim. Of course, we got this excess here. I'm gonna just set it aside for the next Kreelex that we're gonna tie up tonight. Plenty of excess. So here is the finished streamer. I have one little, maybe two, one little errant piece of that peacock colored material there. Go ahead and cut any of those that got away from you. And of course, we can go and take our bodkin and sort of separate here. It's not that important. This material is going to go back and forth a little bit once you start to fish this fly. But this is the finished product, the Kreelex streamer. Fantastic for trout and other predator fish worldwide. So have fun with it. Thanks for watching.